Hey guys, Cravone here, and I'm going to be doing, as promised, a Gregorovic normal mode solo guide. Now, this is intended to help people get their first solo kills and to begin farming it. Hopefully to the point where they can manage a full hour without banking. And now that might seem quite far, quite far ahead. For some people at first, but it's simply a fact of Greg doesn't have his mechanics are not as obvious as you might think. So they're quite easy to overlook. It's quite easy to think, oh, it just does a ton of damage. Gregorovic is, in my opinion, the hardest normal mode GWD2 boss minus T-Loss. And he is almost sort of like a gear check, really. So I'm gonna hopefully get you through this fight with the guide. This is gonna be a ranged focus guide. You can use melee. I will mention something that you're gonna have to avoid if you do take melee. I wouldn't take magic at all here. So melee or range, it's up to you. Now, in terms of requirements, you need level 80 prayer to enter Gregorovic's room. You don't need anything to enter GWD2. In terms of gear, you're going to need, I would say you're going to need at least tier 80 armor. Preferably Anima Core, possibly Pernix, maybe even some Port's tank gear. That wouldn't be too bad, to be honest here. In terms of auras, I would suggest taking Vampirism Aura or Penance Aura here, because you're gonna need sort of as much sustain as possible. As for weapons, I mean, I guess tier 85 plus weapons, as long as it's got tier 90 accuracy, because that's important here. Now, a big thing that I'm going to say before I continue this guide is assuming that you have Venom Blood on your gear. The Venom Blood perk, which is an invention perk. If you don't have it, you are going to need to use a lot of anti-poison plus, and I mean a lot of them, because sure they last 12 minutes, but Gregorovic will reduce that timer every time he stacks poison on you. And it's going to be quite often that he does stack poison on you. And it's also going to make a mechanic a little bit more difficult to deal with. I'll get to that a little bit later on. In terms of your inventory, I would highly recommend having overloads. In fact, I would say don't even try without overloads. You're gonna need some prayer pots. If you want to stay an hour, probably a Beast of Burden, although it might be possible to do without a Beast of Burden. Other requirements, you need to have the Devotion ability, which is from GWD1 mobs. You are going to need to have Soul Split, and yes, for this guide, Soul Split is a requirement. Otherwise you will not be able to stay many kills at all. And it's highly recommended to have level 95 prayers, although these aren't mandatory. You can deal with it without them. So yeah, that's sort of like all the housekeeping, the requirements out the way. Now let's get on to the guide and what abilities he does and what you should be looking out for. Now, Gregorovic has a standard rotation of 3 main specs. Now, I don't know off the top of my head the official name for these specs, so I'm going to call them in order: the Knife Attack, the Red Ad Attack, and then the Ground Attack. So what the knife attack is basically once he spins the glaive in his right hand, he spins it up in the air, he's going to throw a knife at you. And for this, you need to be praying protect from range, and you have to do this until he summons a red ad. That's generally the timing on it. You can actually take it off earlier, but for starters, if I were you, I would actually keep that prayer on until the red ads. Also, this is the ability that people don't realise he has, and he uses it first in his rotation, which means if you're starting a kill, you will not have enough time to generate the adrenaline you need for devotion. So you will take a big chunk of damage really early on, and people think that the best way to avoid this is spam it. You can just mitigate this with protect from range, but in the future you do definitely want to be using devotion on this. Also, between kills you want to store adrenaline using freedom and anticipation. You can also mitigate this attack's damage with anticipation and debilitate, so keep those in mind. I will also show on screen now a way to see the projectile that he throws out, which is very, very small. It's very hard to see. The only way to know he's using this ability is from when he spins a glaive in his right hand up in the air. Now, sometimes you'll get into the flow of the boss, but you'll know when he's about to use it. You'll be able to devotion beforehand, etc. Now, after that, he will summon one red enemy, which will spawn, and it's like a ghost sort of thing. And now, what you must do, it will basically spawn from one of 3 masks in the room. I will show a screenshot on screen now of where each mask is, and effectively each mask has a different property, and a red ad will spawn from the nearest mask to Greg. So the north one will spawn something that increases his poison. The southeastern one, the eastern one is basically going to increase the amount of. It's gonna increase the amount of specs he uses. It's gonna basically reduce the amount of attacks he needs between specs, and it increases the power of his specs, and it's just gonna be nasty. And then the last one, which is the one that's closest to the actual portal, that's just going to buff his standard damage. So a trick I use with this is why you want Venom Blood. Now, if you have Venom Blood, you can basically stand him next to the northernmost mask, and effectively you can just let him take the poison buff, because you're not going to take any damage from the poison. However, if you don't have Venom Blood and you're using super anti-poison, you're using super anti-poisons or anti-poison plus, you want to stand Gregorovic in the middle of the room, and that way you'll have enough time to mitigate any of the red ghost spawns. You have to hit them and pull their aggro. Now, they do have a lot of defense, which is why you recommend to have really high accuracy for this boss. They do have high defense, so you need to draw their aggro, and it's probably best to kill them because they will do damage on you. They only have 3k HP. So the third attack that he does is that he will do a ground attack. Now, this is a magic attack, but it's not advisable to use protect from magic from this. Effectively, basically, when he spins his glaives upwards, I'll show an animation on screen. When he spins him upwards, he's about to use the ground attack. Start moving when you see that animation. Normally there's a safe spot around you, so you won't have to move too far to avoid them. They will hurt, and if you wait until you see the spots in the ground to start moving, you're too late. You're still going to be hit. So move as early as possible. Move when he starts spinning his glaives upwards. So those are the main abilities. Now he does one other thing which he does periodically, which is he summons these shadows around the room, and he can switch places with any of them at random. Now this can be problematic in that it can disorientate you and you might not be able to see his animations for the next abilities he's going to use. So you have to keep an eye where he is at all times. It's not advisable to kill these shadows, it's a waste of time to do it. But if you do have AoE, like, you can use it on these shadows. They don't do much damage to you. There's not much point in killing them, he's just going to respawn them. But there is the option there that you can kill them. It will slow down the kills, and you won't gain much off Soul Split. Now, the thing you have to watch out for melee is when he does his knife attack, he also does an extremely strong melee attack, but only if you're in melee distance. This is sort of like, if you're ranged, try and not be right on top of him because of this. And it's a very strong melee hit. Now, what you do if you're melee, as soon as you start spinning that glaive, you pray range, you get out of melee distance immediately. And then that'll stop you taking all the damage. Now, something I didn't mention before is that you're going to be soul splitting for the entirety of this fight, except for the time when he's using his knife attack. You want to be protecting against range with that. So those are the main mechanics out of the way. Now I'm going to sort of talk through a couple kills, explain what I'm doing in each of them, and yeah, then that'll be the end of the guide. So let's get into that. So when I recorded, some of these kills weren't the best kills. I don't know how this next one's going to go, honestly. So let's see. Now what I'm doing here is I'm actually stalling my adrenaline, because from my last kill I had 50 adrenaline saved, so I want to have enough for devotion. So I'm soul splitting at the start of the fight, and I'm effectively waiting there. Now he's using the knife attack, I've switched to range, I've switched to devotion, so I'm blocking all of his damage. Now I'm waiting for the red ad to spawn. There it is, I've switched back to Soul Split. I'm going to ignore that red ad because I'm using Venom Blood and the poison doesn't affect me. Now he's using his ground attack, I had to look out for that. So I start moving early. I'm still soul splitting. Now I'm getting ready to protect from range again because he's throwing his knife. And I don't have devotion up, so I'm using debilitate and anticipation. Now he's summoning a red ad, I go back to Soul Split. All the while he's got shadows up. He's about to use the ground attack now, so I'm moving from that. A bit too late. But yeah, he's got shadows up at the moment, and they're not really a big deal. Sometimes he teleports them. Sometimes, like, it can be sort of disorientating at times. So this is another red ad. Now, note, if he had teleported a second earlier, he would have gotten the mask on the other side, and that would have been disastrous. Because he would have got increased amount of specs that he used. So finishing this kill off, protecting against range because he just used his knife attack. His boss is just all about looking for what his next spec is. Like, you know what his next spec is. That's the thing. Next one's a ground attack. He always follows the same order. It's like looking when it is. And honestly, after you kill a few times, you'll get used to, oh, there's so many basic attacks after. And you can tell, like, when he's about to use it, you sort of get a sixth sense for it. So, I think that will mark the end of the video now. So, I hope you found this useful. And I hope, like, the close-up slow motion animations will help you see what he's about to use. And help you realise that he does have quite a lot of mechanics, although on the face of it he doesn't. So yeah, thank you for watching, and like, comment, subscribe. Follow my my Road to PvM Mastery series. I've got something special that's already happened this week. There's going to be a lot of racks in this one. I did get a drop somewhere. I won't say where, and I won't say what it was. But I did get a massive drop. So yeah, that's going to come out hopefully around the end of the week. I'm hoping the next rotation is going to be... Actually, no, I have to wait for a few more rotations for racks. But I wanna actually make a full racks video guide in the future. Now, I'm still practicing with Path 1. I've never done it before. I did it today, and that'll be in the next PVM video. And I still need to learn Path 3. So that's probably going to come out maybe in a couple weeks, hopefully. Shouldn't take more than like 1 or 2 weeks. I just need a good 2-3 rotation again, because it came off rotation last night. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.